Loving your enemies is not about you revealing your faith to everyone. It's actually about God refining the faith that's in you. A lot of us say, well, yeah, I do my best to love my enemies. I mean, I'm frustrated with him or I'm frustrated with her. I can't believe she said that. But I'm doing my best to love my enemies. And I often ask, okay, talk to me about that. Like, what's your motive there? Because I really notice that some of us attempt to love our enemies as hopes that God will somehow reshape our enemies. A lot of us are like, I'm doing whatever I can. I just can't wait for them to turn around or see life my way, to remake them, I want God to change them. All the while, this exercise, when he says, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, this exercise is actually there to form and reshape me, not them. All these action items are there to reform me. Praying for my enemies. I've experienced this in real life. I've had several situations, and I wouldn't call those people enemies today, but in those particular situations, I've had friends who I thought were friends in ministry who have said things about me that are 1,000% false. And I knew it, and if they were honest with themselves, they knew it. And I had to sit there and let them continue with the information that they had, as incomplete as maybe it was, to say something and to take my reputation and to drag me down. And I remember reading a verse very similar to this and thinking, you know what? I'm going to pray for said enemy. And just like many of you, when I pray, I prayed for them that God would turn their heart around, that he would let them see that what they were doing was wrong. I just made it all about them and about changing them. All the while, my prayer life began to adjust. God, why are you taking me through this? What is it that you want me to learn in this? And I began to realize that the more I pray, not prayers of change over them, but prayers of blessing over them, which we'll talk about in a second, it actually unlocked something in me toward that person. A sense of compassion and a sense of release. It softened me when I saw him again. So when he says, I want you to love your enemies, I want you to have somebody in mind, somebody that you are at odds with, somebody right now who you're like, I got to do some business with this. I got to see what this looks like. I wouldn't put it on a t-shirt, so-and-so, my enemy. Like, we're not doing that. We're not making this a public spectacle. But we are saying that to those who harm you, what will be your response? So let's just take some of the list that was given to us in those scriptures and get super practical really quick. First thing he says is this. He says, pray for them. Again, don't pray that God does your bidding. Don't pray that God would just let them see your way. Pray that they would have a heart to see, to hear, and to experience the Father. Pray for their well-being. Pray for their success. Pray for their heart to be gripped by God and for the kingdom of God to advance through and in their life. If you can pray that level of prayer over the man and woman that harmed you, I promise your eyes would be open and you would begin to see them in a compassionate light. I'm always blown away when something tragic happens, in the life of somebody. And, maybe it's that somebody, either inadvertently or intentionally took the life of another. And I see these parents, of a child who was killed say, hey, we just want you to know that we forgive you. I have a hard time understanding that. We've been praying for you. And I think that happens when they truly have an understanding that God is in control of this life and the life to come. And they just give the outcome of their situation to him. And so even in the midst of evil and harm, they're able to channel their faith and say, we want to pray God's blessing that his kingdom would come in your life. The first thing you want to do is pray. He also says, forgive them, which I just alluded to. We have to practice forgiving. We love to say, yeah, I forgive, but that doesn't mean I have to forget. It doesn't require that of me. And I'm going to tell you this. Actually, I think forgiveness requires some level of forgetting. We're too self-protective here. I'm not telling you to run back to a bad relationship or a bad situation in any way. But forgiveness is me releasing my ability to hold punishment over someone else's head. So I'm going to have to extend a sense of like, hey, I'm no longer going to remember this. I'm going to walk away from this. I like to say when I forgive someone, I have a responsibility to release them. That's what helps me. So I don't just say, I forgive you. I tend to say, hey, you know what? I forgive you and I release you from any harm or punishment or ill will. I want to walk in a new way in my relationship with you. It kind of catches people off guard. You got to learn to forgive people. The third thing he says is, he says, do good to them. Just finding a way to connect with an enemy can be brutal. Take some serious intentionality. But I want you to ask yourself the question, how could you do good to someone right now who you were at odds with? What could you do? How could you choose to love that enemy in a very intentional and thoughtful way? Seems simple, really hard to execute on. The last one he says is bless them, and this is kind of multi-layered. But this is seeking their spiritual well-being. Because when I seek a blessing for an enemy, it's so counter to my internal drive, it almost makes me angry. But it significantly changes the landscapes of the relationships we build, even with those to whom we're at odds. All of these things are active in nature. You've got to be doing. You've got to press in. You have to extend grace rather than your desired outcome in the situation. You're going to allow God to take control of it. And so when he says, love your enemies, I want you to understand something today. Loving your enemies is not about you revealing your faith to everyone. It's actually about God refining the faith that's in you. And I want to give you a quick kind of construct so that you can remember what to do with those that we all tend to hold captive. We tend to like to hold grudges and keep all that stuff internally, and it eats us alive. I want to give you just a quick framework. When we hold others captive to our emotion and our hurt and our pain, we all know that it does more damage to us than it ever does to the other person. So here's my action for you today. I want you to learn to free people. Free people. And based on what we just talked about, it's just a quick acronym. The F stands for forgiveness. I want you to forgive them. The R is to release them. The first E is to empathize. I wonder what they're going through. Why would they have done such a heinous act? Or why would they have said such terrible things? Why would they have done that to this situation or to me or in our life? I'm going to empathize. Maybe there's hurt in them. Maybe something's going on in them. I don't want to be so defensive that I'm ready to punch them back. Maybe I just need to stop and go, dude, what? Why? Like, what's happening? And then finally, I want us to learn to extend grace to them. Forgive them, release them, empathize with them, and extend grace to them.